Today we're going to solve LeetCode number 21, which is the merge to sorted lists. To solve this, we're going to be using a few pointers and a few conditions, iterating once over the two lists. The trick is for the iteration approach, is keeping track of the previous pointer. So say whenever list 1 and list 2, as we iterate over, if we find the number different, less than or greater than of the previous number of the list, we want to keep track and modify that next value of the previous list node. It's a little hard to explain without drawing it, but I will attempt to explain again after we finish the solution. But pretty much we are just traversing both the lists, comparing, and then adjusting the next pointers as we move down the list. All right, so let's go ahead and code this solution. First, we're going to create a list node dummy equals new list node. That will keep track of our final list we will return. Then we will have a list node of a previous value, and we're going to set that equal to dummy. What that is a new pointer, and we're setting that pointer equal to this new dummy we created out in space. So that's all that is. All right. First, let's handle some edge cases. Just as empty lists happen, we need to return the right values. So if list 1 equals null, then we're going to return list 2, else if list 2 equals null, we're just going to return list 1. All right, so that should handle our edge cases. For example, if both are null, the answer would just be null, else it'll return the list that has values. All right, so let's go ahead and iterate through each list in one loop to compare and start changing up the pointers to the correct order. So while list 1 does not equal to null and list 2 does not equal to null, then what we're going to do is compare each list pointer. So if list 1 is greater than or equal to list 2, so that's the value of that specific node we need to compare. For this approach, we're checking if for example, when we get here, in the second node of these two lists, if this value is greater than, say, if when we're in this value, after we iterate through one of the loops, we're going to be changing this pointer to the next highest value. So what we're going to do is set our starting our list node array out in space. We're going to do previous dot next equal to list one. Then we're going to iterate list one equals list one dot next. Else, so what we're doing is in this pointer, we're setting previous.next equal to the node, and then that node, since we have a reference to it, we're going to iterate it, the list one pointer to the next value. All right. Else, this is going to indicate that list two value is greater, so we'll go ahead and iterate list two. But in that case, we also need to keep track of the previous value before we iterate. List two equals list two dot next, and then we iterate list two. So where the magic happens after we compare and are iterating through each array, the previous value is setting itself to the value we need next in that array. So what I mean by that is, let's go ahead and just set previous equal to previous dot next. So as we iterate through this linked list, when we get to 2 here, the previous value is going to be 1, which since list 2 val is greater than 1 of list 2, we need to set that previous. So now this 1 is our previous node value. We set that next pointer to the 1 on list 2. So that would happen on line 28 here. And then once we have a reference from 1 to 1 here, then we just iterate list 2 pointer to the next value, which is 3. And for example, since list 3 is bigger than list 2, now that we have list 1 and list 2 nodes here, since we have the previous value as 1, we're going to set previous.next equal to the list 1 pointer we have, which is 2. So now we have 1 to 1 and then 1 to 2. And then iterating the original list pointer to the next value. So that is the magic in a nutshell. Let's go ahead and address for when our lists, when we iterate to the end and we still have values left over. Since these are already two sorted lists, it doesn't matter if the rest of the values, it doesn't matter what values they are, because they're going to be greater than the list that we end with. All right, so to check that, we're going to test if list 1, since we're iterating to the dot next value all the time, if it does not equal null at the end of our array, we're setting previous, which is our previous value, dot next equal to list 1, else we're setting excuse me, previous dot next equal to list 2. All right, so let's go ahead and save and check. Actually, the last thing we need to do is return our dummy node, which is our reference node in the beginning that we established. And then we don't want the value here, so we're just going to return dummy.next. Standard practice when working with modifying lists, linked lists. Return dummy.next. All right, and we're going to go ahead and submit. Oh no, we are not passing all test cases. That's okay. Let's try to debug this live. That happens. My mistake. I believe we are passing the edge cases, but my condition here, let's just check. So back in the example here, if list1 dot val is greater than list2 dot val. So if list1 dot val is greater than list2 dot val for 2 and 3, then previous dot next equals list1. That makes sense. Previous dot next equals let's see here. I'm going to change it to a less than, since if it's less than list2.val, that's okay. We'll just keep iterating over list1 until we get a value that's bigger than list2. Then that's when we go to modify the value in list2. So let's go ahead and submit. All right, and that was the answer to our issue we were having, was just this one if statement where we were going into the wrong part of the if statement depending on the condition. Since if the value is less, that's okay. We'll just keep iterating over that same list. All right, And that is our overview and solution for merge two linked lists. Thanks for watching.